This is an interesting one. Some of you that watch my videos will have heard me reference a message that I've been receiving for a couple of months now, actually, and really questioning two things, trying to piece it together to make sense of it, and really questioning whether it was something that I wanted to share, because it has spoken about an event that, whilst I don't have the details around, does feel to me like it could be quite a significant event. And in fact, in the last couple of weeks when we did have a significant event that rattled the world, I thought that that could be it. And there is still a piece of the themes throughout the messages that have been coming through that fit with that. But I also, in the very first time this came through, received a date of 24th of September. And I don't receive dates very often, but I just couldn't at that point in time fit that with anything that I understood was happening on the world stage. And so I kind of left that and moved on with it. Anyway, in today's video, I want to unpack the messages that have come through, how they've come through, and the way they've all weaved together. But what I want to start by saying is that this message isn't about instilling fear within any of you. Whilst the energy behind this does feel like it could be quite disruptive, there are key themes that have been given to me that really are about empowering us to find our way forward as humanity, connecting with the Christ consciousness that lives within, and connecting with our own truth and our own discernment, which is so important at this point in time, but feels particularly important as we move through what these messages might be referring to. So this isn't about predicting a catastrophe. I don't even know if this is going to relate to anything that happens tomorrow or the next day as the 24th of September date plays out on the world calendar. But this message is really about discernment, about us starting to question what is presented to us, and about us awakening to the things that have been hidden from us, the things that have kept us controlled, and the things that have kept us disconnected from ourselves. And ultimately, this message is about a rising of the Christ consciousness that lives within us, the kingdom of heaven that is already inside of us and is ready to rise. So, as I mentioned, these readings have come through basically since the start of August is when I very first got this message. It was as I was recording the week ahead energy reading in the Lionsgate portal energy. And as I mentioned, I got that date of the 24th of September and a few other pieces in that message that I just was really struggling to make sense of, to the point where I actually recorded a separate reading for that week ahead energy reading that you can go back and watch the take 2 of that energy reading, where I actually mentioned that I had attempted to do this. I think it was the evening before, and just really struggled and had to come back the next morning and be a bit more specific about that week ahead. I have received follow-up messages at different points, but quite interestingly at 11:11 p.m. on the 21st of August and then the 21st of September. And as soon as this one came through this week on the 21st of September at 11:11 p.m., actually at that point in time I didn't even realize it was related because it came through as song lyrics, but as soon as I sat down to record one of my standard individual level messages that I share almost every day, it became apparent to me that this was connected, and then I happened to realize the connection between the date. So I'm going to share pieces of the reading, what's come through in the readings and the meditations I've done around this, and also the archetypal meanings that connect them all together. I may also slice in, if I can get the technology working for me, I may also slice in bits of those readings to just really help speak to the energy in which this stuff came through, although a lot of it is me trying to make sense of things that aren't making sense to my logical mind that exists in the here and now based on the experiences I've had in this world. So as I mentioned, the first message came through on the 8th of August, so in the Lionsgate portal. And that morning in my own personal meditation, I saw a vision of Jesus rising out of a cave. Now, that was a pretty powerful meditation for me. And I really got the very strong, powerful sense then that this Christ consciousness was rising within us, that this was the moment in time where all of us will have different views around how this might happen, but it is now. then as I sat down to do the week ahead reading, I again meditated and also used my Divine Master cards. And I had Jesus, Mother Mary, and Mary Magdalene come out. They were the only 3 cards that came out, and they all came through. As I've mentioned already, at that point in time, the date, the 24th of September, kept coming through as well, as if it would hold significance. But in the research I was able to do at that point in time, I just couldn't quite make sense of what was significant about that date. In the same meditation at the start of this attempt of the reading, I got a visual of a fiery comet. I didn't see it hit anything. I didn't feel scared. I wasn't worried. The energy didn't feel bad. But what came through at the same time was end of times, metaphorical end of the world as we know it. And this really felt like a shift in our reality. Being asked to reflect on the metaphorical symbolism of a comet. The metaphorical symbolism of a comet. What just immediately came through was the end of the dinosaurs, Ice Age, Kali Yuga, end of times is the thing that wants to play. But again, this doesn't feel bad. It's like it's the metaphorical end of the world as we know it. So the shift has happened. Like when I got this morning that Christ has risen and there's a shift, are we really in that shift now? We're energetically tipped. I then pulled some cards from one of my oracle decks, the Sacred Symbol oracle decks that those of you that watch my readings often will know I use regularly, and out came the Stormy card. And I believe this message was from the book, actually. Let me confirm this. There it is on the top waiting for us. Stormy card. It's a 21 card. That does become significant shortly. In the book, because again, as I said, this reading I was just really struggling to make sense of. In the book it says, drama straight ahead, prepare and brace yourself. Conditions are not favourable at this time. Wait the storm out before proceeding. Please don't worry either. The weather can change very quickly. I don't always read from the book for this deck, and the fact that I did, and that's the message that I got, feels quite significant. I did get a feeling around something to do with Trump on that day, but I was really unable to dive too much deeper than that. The other messages that came through in that reading from the tarot, I got the World card, which is also the 21 card in the tarot deck. So some stormy event on the world stage. And I wrote down information is coming to light, and I got the Justice card as well. There was something about we can't see what's under the surface and we can't see our way out. Feelings of isolation. For some reason I'm being called to this deck, so let's figure out what that's about. Flip to the key, new moon, and then shift. Stormy just fell to the floor. And I split to comic part. Stormy. I'll grab it. Stormy fell to the floor. Trump's back in this week's reading because I just heard something to do with Stormy Daniels too, and I'm covered in chills. What is going on? All right, we're gonna go to Page of Swords. I'm almost getting from that Ten of Pentacles. I'm almost getting from the Page of Swords there that information's coming to light. That doesn't really fit with. What does that fit with? I just saw Justice too. All right, we're going to clarify. Let's start with Stormy because that
the world and the Ace of Cups. What? All right, Spirit, what do you want us to know about the Stormy card? Thank you. Hang on a second. The Stormy card is 21 and the World card is 21 as well.
I also, from this same deck, got the Key card, which is the Talisman. And I've linked that with the Five of Pentacles. And what was interesting with this Talisman and the Five of Pentacles combination is I started hearing the song The Heat Is On. I can't even recall now who writes that song. But instead of hearing the words as The Heat Is On, I was hearing the same tune singing The Key Is Love.
Five of Pentacles, but that's got the key. See, she's locked out, but she's got the key to the door to get inside. And we've already got the key here. The key to find your way out of the conflict, of the storm. I've been really strongly getting the message as I've been sitting with the love piece this week and the idea of divine feminine and divine masculine union and within and without, that's the key to ascension. Just split to the Tower. Even with what came through for me this morning around Christ consciousness and Christ rising, and then Jesus coming through with Mary Magdalene and Mother Mary before this, we have the key. We need to get out of this storm. We have the key to get out of the storm, out of the conflict. And the world is the end of the chapter, because remember we had that come through, this is the end of the world as we know it. There's a splitting of timeline, a shift, and the key is, I feel like the key is love and healing, like union. Let me just ask that. I've got High Priestess at the bottom of the deck going, if you don't feel like it, you know. But anyway, thank you, Spirit. What is this key? What is this key? Just hearing the song, The Heat Is On. I don't know if that's what the song's actually called, but I was hearing, instead of The Heat Is On, The Key Is Love.
The key is love. The key is Christ consciousness. Christ consciousness is love. And that is the key for us to find our way through this, to find our way out of the isolation, out of the storm, out of the drama. And even just in waiting out the storm, to stay in love. There's almost, and we'll move into this as we move through this message, but there's almost a sense here of the whole point of the storm is to pull us out of connection with ourselves and with each other. And the key to navigating this is to come back into connection with ourselves. Now, what also came through here, and this is one of the pieces that I hesitate sharing on, because there's just many ways of interpreting what I'm about to say. And again, I'm not trying to instill fear, and I'm certainly not trying to put energy into events or circumstances or the way things play out that we don't want to play out. The key is love. We actually ultimately have control. But the other thing that came through in this space was New World Order. So I have certainly got the sense in this message alone and in the subsequent messages that this event that I'm feeling, but also the stuff that's happened in the last few weeks and a lot that's happening and playing out on the world stage at the moment, is related to that. I'm not even sure if me saying those words alone is going to get this video banned in some way. There was a lot of fire and earth energy in this reading, coming out as Pentacles and Wands cards. And with the fiery comet, that felt quite significant as well. And I also got the cards Judgment and Death and Rebirth. The Judgment in the deck I used looks very much like that ascension, like that rising of ourselves, of our souls, moving into 5D, whatever it might be. Death and Rebirth is speaking to transformation. And it was around this time that I got the date 24th of September.
I was just working with the date 24th of September, and I split to the Ace of Swords. So usually that would be my confirmation I was on to something, because I've got 2 of Pentacles, 4 of Pentacles, and then the 9 of Wands. And I was like, I don't understand what this means. Is this a date? And then I've split to the Ace of Swords and the Hermit. But that's not this week, so I'm not sure why I'm getting 24th of September. The heat is on. That song's really playing in my head. The key is love. The heat is on. What are the rest of the words to that song? The heat is on the street, inside your head, on every beat. And the beat so loud deep inside, the pressure's high. Just stay alive because the heat is on. Tell me, can you feel it? The shadow's high on the darker side. Behind the doors, it's a wilder ride. You can make or break, can win or lose. That's a chance you take when the heat's on you, when the heat is on. Mars is square Pluto that day. I'm not sure when that happens and how long that lasts for. That seems relevant. There's no special events to my knowledge planned for that day, or I keep splitting to the Tower. No special events planned for that day. Yes, there is Donna. Oh, and then I split to the Fool. What?
Other significant number patterns that came out in the cards this day were 555, obviously speaking to change, but also speaking to conflict and high pressure, and the numbers 333 and 369. 369 being related to Tesla and being the key to the universe.
Yeah, we actually have 369. 369 is also significant here. Key to the universe. Believed to hold spiritual significance in numerology and law of attraction. Tesla famously stated, if you only knew the magnificence of 3, 6, and 9, then you would have the key to the universe. And we're talking about key to the universe. These numbers are associated with creation, harmony, and completion, respectively. So 3 is creation, 6 is harmony, and 9 is completion. I'm really not clear on what this Tower event is. Creation, harmony, completion. Nikola Tesla, which actually has a link back to Trump as well. What is going on? I think at the start of this reading, I saw the Page of Swords and I felt like there was something about information coming out.
That is a key of this reading that I haven't quite cracked yet, and I would welcome your ideas and comments below. Definitely themes around new moon. I got the new moon card out of this deck too, and at that point in time I wasn't aware that we were going to have 2 new moons in Virgo coming up. So on the 22nd of August I have written down, and then again just the other day. I'm just wondering if this is the same nights that these messages came through. Yeah, so the following 2 messages after this came through in the energy of the new moons, not the exact dates, but basically. The other thing that stood out is I mentioned that the numbers 333 and 369 were coming through quite strongly in this reading. One of the ways that came through was on the 3 of Cups card. And what stood out to me on the 3 of Cups card is a tattoo. It's never stood out to me before. I always take these things as significant when they do in the reading, because I actually looked it up in the reading. That's how much it stood out to me.
The tattoo on this girl's back is really standing out to me. I'm going to try and work out what that is a symbol of. Okay, so the tattoo is a triskelion or triskele, which is an ancient symbol consisting of 3 interlocked spirals. It's found in various ancient cultures, particularly prominent in Celtic art and Neolithic structures. It often represents the concepts of 3, such as past, present, and future, earth, sea, and sky, or life, death, and rebirth.
So, anyway, I left that reading as every now and then I just will have a reading where I can't piece things together, and I left it be. I done it of an evening. I was tired, and I came back the next day to record the week ahead energy reading. Basically, in that reading, just to summarize, the message was fairly consistent. Something about a stormy event on the world stage, truth rising, justice unfolding. Yeah, and what is hidden beneath the surface coming to light. The following day, as I mentioned, recorded the weekend energy reading. This one is posted, so you can go back and see that. In that reading, I speak about an individual message and a collective message. I don't always do that in the weekend energy readings, but that's how it came through that day. And the individual level, the message came through quite clearly of sharing your voice, coming out of the cave, not fearing persecution, and being willing to express yourself.
On the bottom of the deck, we have that one that I just saw as I was shuffling, which was the Pillar of Light, your vibration is rising. You are the oracle. And then the card that fell out is share your voice, come out of the cave, persecution, expression. Exactly what I was just saying. Move from truth, share your truth with detachment from the outcome. I feel like there's something that needs to be said and you need to say it without fear of persecution, of whatever that might look like, without fear. And you need to release the fear of persecution, of judgment, of even losing the things that might fall out of alignment with you, and answer the call. You are the oracle. This is a reminder, whatever it is, it's what you came here to do.
On the collective level, a lot of the same energy from the night before came through, but I also heard, I'm pretty sure I kept this in the reading, something wicked this way comes.
Oh, do you know what just came into my head? And it was as I was looking at the veiled card where I've put the angel and the devil on top of, I heard something wicked this way comes. What is something wicked this way comes? I don't think I meant to know. Protection and courage. We are protected. Shadow. Oh, the riddles. Two of Swords. We definitely can't see this. I keep getting positive cards as well, though. So, like, we are protected. It is ultimately pushing us into this new life, this new beginning. I would like to be able to give you some idea of what it is. And maybe it's different for all of us individually. Maybe that's the Seven of Cups here, as this could look different for all of us. Or it's not decided yet exactly what this is going to look like. Wicked this way comes. That just keeps playing over in my head. The energy of this doesn't feel bad. Like this feels like an attempt, the outcome of which is going to be so positive that it's going to feel like a blip on the radar kind of situation. I saw the Tower and the Seven of Swords, revealing lies and deceit that we haven't seen.
I'll be honest, whilst those words feel heavy, and it does feel wicked, whatever is happening now and whatever is going to play out, be it tomorrow or be it in the future, it does feel wicked. But like I said in that reading, it feels like a blip on the radar. It's an attempt of something to cause chaos, to cause confusion, to cause division, but it's not going to be something that ultimately lasts a long time. It takes me back to that stormy piece, actually. Wait out the storm before proceeding. Weather can change very quickly. That's how this feels. I'm not saying that it's not going to be devastating on some level for some individuals. I feel that there is a possibility of that, be it the event that, again, happened in recent weeks or more that's going to happen. It feels like it will be a blip on our radar because of what we're stepping into as a result of almost the way we step into the energy that I just mentioned of truth rising, justice unfolding, and what's being hidden actually finally coming to light. I again got messages around fire magic and possibly fiery comet link in that one. I don't have a strong tie to this being a comet event. I have a strong feel that this is and we'll get into why shortly, that this is a man-made planned event of some description. And even as I say event, I definitely feel that there is an event that the message has been built around, but there's so much happening either side of that, around all of that. It's not just one thing. There is one central thing that's allowed me to hone in on this message. But again, the things we've seen play out on the world stage in the last few weeks are all part of this. Also, something about law and order. And again, that comes through quite strongly in the next message I'm about to share with you. In that reading, again, it's on YouTube, so you can go back and listen to it. I actually say that the divine masculine is not listening to their own wisdom. And that is what is allowing this event to happen. In the following readings, I get really strong messages around divine feminine and their role in response to this.
Divine masculine aren't hearing the call. They're not listening to their own wisdom. The wisdom is speaking to them right now. They're not listening. And that's what is allowing whatever this event is. I'm seeing the Tower again in my mind's eye to happen. that will attempt to draw people into the lower timeline, but there's so much of the higher timeline in this reading. And a big part of this has to do with the divine masculine and how they choose to respond. Can they use their wisdom to position themselves onto this higher timeline, to bring that wisdom forward and not get tricked, to recognize the ways they've hurt. The current system is hurting the world, hurting themselves, hurting those around them. We had the Four of Pentacles, which was like gripping onto the old ways of being, the old systems and structures. The masculine in particular are struggling with this, and the masculine parts of us. This is an opportunity for a fresh beginning, but it is going to require kind of a burn it all down and start a fresh approach, which will take all of us trusting in our intuition, trusting in our magic, trusting in the wisdom of what we can take from the past into this new beginning.
So I kind of left this. I knew there was something in this reading, but it didn't feel concrete or solid, and I kind of just left it as a failed reading. As I said, I posted the reading that I've just given you a brief rundown of. It's available, and I moved on with my life. And then, as I mentioned, at 11:11 on the 21st of August, I woke up to the words Twin Towers and Saddam Hussein, which was very random, very unexpected, certainly not topics that I had been thinking of. I wrote them down, as I do when things like that come through, and went back to sleep. And then that night I actually had a dream of a small red plane crashing. What was interesting about this dream is that we could see the plane flying over, we could see it was having difficulties, we could see it going down, but we couldn't actually see it crashing because it was behind other buildings, it was behind a tree line. I remember covering my daughter's eyes so that she couldn't see it crash. But this is where it got quite interesting, is from the crash that we couldn't see because it was behind the buildings, people floated upwards on their parachutes. So it was as if they had their parachutes, but rather than jumping out of the planes prior to it crashing, they crashed and then the parachutes floated them up away from the crash. Again, I didn't think too much of this at that point in time. And I certainly didn't link it with the readings that I've just shared with you. So that morning I spent a bit of time thinking, because it was 11:11 that I woke up, which felt very significant, especially with the Twin Towers coming through. I spent a bit of time just doing some research and whatnot around Twin Towers. I worked with ChatGPT just trying to pull some of these ideas together for me, and Saddam Hussein. And that was fascinating in a lot of ways. The significance of the Twin Towers being a physical representation of 11 energy, the message coming through at 11:11, the fact that it was Flight 11 of American Airlines, that the towers had 110 stories. So there was all of that connection that just was blowing my mind. Somehow we got onto the tarot. I'd have to go back and read to remember exactly how this came through, but I think it actually might have been from the Saddam Hussein piece. So let me go there firstly. Obviously, we were talking about Saddam Hussein and the link to the war and everything that played out there. But what I didn't know was that Saddam Hussein had, during his reign, tried to reconstruct parts of Babylon to basically cement his part in the legacy of Babylon in some way. Saddam famously reconstructed parts of ancient Babylon, I had no idea about this, and stamped new bricks with his name, a literal attempt to link his rule with Babylon's legacy. Energetically, that ties Babel, the archetypal tower story of overreach, confusion of tongues. Your nudge may be weaving towers to Babylon to discernment about empire's propaganda and language. What came through in just working with chat was two cards from the tarot that also have visual representations of towers or pillars on them, being the Hierophant and the High Priestess. This card out, which is the 2, but looks, could look like an 11 up there. I've got her out because of that 11:11 piece, and then it came through towers and these 2 pillars that were outside the Temple of Solomon. The archetype of the 2 pillars, the gate of initiation. Across esoteric traditions, the twin pillars, Boaz and Jushin at Solomon's temple, mark the threshold into the holy, a passage between worlds, known and unknown. Seeing twin towers at 11:11 can read like stand between the pillars, choose with discernment, and pass through consciously. Jushin, the J, meaning he establishes, and Boaz meaning in him is strength. They stood at the threshold of the holy place, the Temple of Solomon, not as supports. They didn't hold up the structure, but as symbols of divine order and initiation. Their positioning, one on the right and one on the left, represented polarity, masculine, feminine, mercy, strength, establishment, power. Walking between them was an act of moving from the outer world into sacred space. Together, the pillars embody duality, but not opposition. They are two aspects through which divine energy flows into the world. To pass between them is to enter the middle path, discernment, balance, integration. So while we went deep, Chad and I, around this topic, around the Tower of Babel and the representation of duality and everything else, the collapse of false empires, the unveiling of hidden power, Twin Towers itself as an archetypal symbol for all of that, and false flag events, which we'll get to. So I already had those two cards out. Again, I used the same deck that I've just showed you, and I actually used that card because there is a card in there that is safe travel. What is this about planes? Is there going to be another plane event coming? So I used that deck. I got spiritual cleansing, grounded, and then at the bottom of the deck was safe travel. I'll try to pop that in here. And I think this is a moment, and this is a trap I can sometimes fall into as an intuitive, is trying to make sense of the information through my logic. And when it's piecemeal like this, it is very hard to do anything but that, because otherwise I'm just telling you what cards are coming out, and I intuitively can feel something but not quite what it means. So I was questioning whether there was something about planes being grounded, something affecting travel. I wasn't going to do anything with that, but then as I've sat down to meditate and prepare for this reading, planes, two other plane things came through, as well as some other stuff. I don't know. I've pulled out this deck because I just didn't know how to begin here. There's a safe travel card in this deck, so I'm thinking if I get that, there's something I need to look at here as it relates to planes, and then we'll go from there. All right, Spirit, show me, what do we need to know as it relates to these plane messages? Twin Towers, the red plane. I've got that spiritual cleansing card again. Grounded. What's that? Safe travel. I felt it on my fingers. And I was like, look at that card. Spiritual cleansing. Why is that card coming? With the grounded card, I was getting planes about to be grounded for some reason. Is something going to happen to travel? And then I moved on to the tarot. And what came out was the Knight of Swords with the Tower at the bottom of the deck, the Justice, and the Empress. The Justice card also has two pillars. You'll notice it is also the 11 card of the tarot. The Knight of Swords, as I mentioned, came out. And I don't do this often in tarot readings. I intuitively feel into what they mean. But as I said, I was just trying to piece this together with what it was feeling like. So I looked up the meaning of the Knight of Swords, rushing into battle for the truth, the sword representing the quest for truth and the willingness to fight for a cause worth fighting for. I clarified this card using a different tarot deck, and the Empress came out again. I then split that different tarot deck and saw the Knight of Swords. So definitely was getting a message around the call to the divine feminine to step into their power and fight for a cause worth fighting for as a result of whatever this event was going to be. Grey sword symbolizes justice, truth, and a cause worth fighting for. I was getting something about a false flag kind of event, which I'm not even going to go there right now in this video with the other event that I was talking about. Kind of with that energy and the cause worth fighting for, is there something that's going to happen to get people back inside with what the governments are fighting right now from a sense of wanting justice? I'm just not sure why the Empress is here twice, because that generally would be very masculine energy. So how do they get a false... I just got Temperance Let me see if I can see what's under temperance. The Tower. Temperance and the Tower. I'm feeling like an event might happen. I'm struggling with how it has to do with planes. Anyway, maybe it's not. Maybe it's just a false flag event that would have the feminine wanting justice and fighting for justice, a cause worth fighting for. Another thing that chat had given me around the significance of the number 11 was that it is a master number in numerology, and it speaks to intuition and revelation, which all feels very much linked to this message. The Tower card speaks to sudden revelations, collapse of false structures, truth to allow something more authentic to be built, and collective or personal unmaskings. The Tower actually did end up coming out in this reading as well, and it was clarified by the Sun and the Seven of Pentacles. So again, truth coming to light with the Sun after the Tower. And the Seven of Pentacles, I got two interesting messages from. One, that seeds that have been planted were coming to the surface. That's the truth. But also with the Divine Feminine piece, I was really strongly getting this message around us intuitively receiving the truth. Like an event would happen, and either prior to that, some of us would be having premonitions about that. Maybe that's this. Or once it had happened, a narrative would be told that the feminines would intuitively know wasn't true. And as they started to speak their truths around what was coming through for them intuitively through their own truth rather than listening to the outside, that was weaving together into a solid story that the world would see. Why is the Tower here, Spirit? Oh, don't know what that was. On the ground. There's a Tower here. The Sun. This is Seven of Pentacles. The Sun, Seven of Pentacles. This is going to sound weird, but I feel like the truth is coming out as it relates to possibly this event. Although I was having a conversation around this event and the genocide that's happening in Palestine right now as like retribution or retaliation of the aggrieved country and it being excessive. Yeah, I'm just wondering if there's a truth that's going to come to light, coming to the surface maybe. See how that's like seeds planted coming to the surface. That can also be a waiting card. It might have taken a long time for these to come to surface, or it might not happen immediately. This is so weird. But I'm really getting like, it might come to light, but it might come to light in an intuitive kind of way. Like a lot of women may receive intuitive downloads around whatever this situation is that's coming to light, and their truths combined together will create a truth that is seen by, I wanted to say the nation, so that's interesting, probably by the world, but the nation seems relevant there. And I feel like I'm still feeling like that false flag vibe, and so maybe that either happens and the intuitive feminines in particular see straight through it, or maybe there's even enough people getting a premonition of this that then when it happens it's like, we knew you were going to do this, and we knew it wasn't whoever you're now trying to say it was. Iran just came to my head. Again, very strongly in this reading, the two Virgo moons came through. Remembering this reading was recorded in the energy of that first Virgo new moon. Definitely was starting to get the strong sense in this reading that this was related to a false event and the truth coming to light. Now, I didn't know if that was talking to a event that happened quite some years ago and the truth coming to light about that. If it was talking about events that were currently taking place at this point in time, remembering we're back in August, and some truth coming out to light about what's actually going on and why it's happening, or if there was going to be an event or a series of events where truths were going to come out despite an attempt to cover it up or to make us believe something's different, wanting to cause us to rise up and fight, but fight in a way that was aligned with their intentions, where actually, as the truth comes out, we end up fighting against the thing that triggered the events in the first place. By this point of this reading, again, I was just really struggling to because I so wanted to know what this event was so that I could make sense of all of the rest of it. And there was something I thought I needed to go research or needed to go clarify, and I immediately got the message: the wisdom exists within you. This wasn't just a message to me. This is the overarching message of this whole video: is the wisdom exists within you. You know the truth. Stop listening to the truth outside of yourself, because that is less and less true every day as we move through this moment in time. And that is the piece that we're needing to hold on to. Again, in this same reading, I was getting this message about moving from duality into unity. So truth coming to light, something that we couldn't see coming to light, and allowing us to move into it being something that we turn our backs on, but also fight against. And as a result of that, we're moving from this duality into unity. Something happens that brings this. I wrote this and I recorded this before the event that happened 2 weeks ago. Something happens that brings people from different backgrounds together. And that's why 2 weeks ago, whenever it was now, I thought that this was this event and I could move on with this message. Something about truth coming to light in divine timing and divinely supported. Yeah, going from something that we couldn't see to something that we turn our backs on. Duality merging into unity. Something. Wow. Something happens that brings people from different backgrounds together. Like both sides of the division. King of Wands, Queen of Wands. That could be masculine and feminine energy, absolutely. But I think we all know there's lots of other things that could be. Twin towers, 2 towers fall, masculine and feminine, represented by those towers falling. At the end of this message, I went to a different deck again, an oracle deck, and I got the following cards: change, grief, compassion, confusion, chaos, vision, and presence. To me, this was speaking to exactly the energy that I was feeling. There is an event that causes chaos and confusion. That's a whole point of whatever this is, has been, is going to be, will continue to be, whatever. It is to cause confusion and chaos and division. But ultimately, it pushes us into a place of change through us grieving for the actual situation and whatever happens there, but also grieving how we've been kept in the dark because of that vision piece, because of the feminine energy having these visions, the High Priestess card, and that pushing us into a place of compassion for each other. There were a number of 11 cards that had already come out in this reading. I kind of want to know what the 11 card is in this deck. We don't have it out. And this deck. Interesting that I want to know that. Control. I just shuffled those decks, and at the bottom of the deck is storytelling. Okay, and then I just left failed on here. I'm going to find the 11 card in this one. Earth is the 11 card in this deck. And the 11 card in the tarot, Justice. Duh. Oh my God. And you know how I said this was on the bottom of the deck, storytelling? 38, 11. And the card I left on the desk, 38, 11. Their stories are being unveiled. Justice is coming around the ways they've tried to keep us controlled. And it's coming through some tower event that intuition is going to allow us to see through. But there is something about intuitives really needing to stay in our own energy to allow this to come through so that this can all take place in the way that it's meant to. Remember, we had the Justice card out as well. Let me actually just do something, because he's between 2 towers too. And so is the Hierophant card, actually. 2 towers. This is religious structures, institutions, education. Justice is law. There is something about law coming through too, actually, and that came through in a reading that I'm trying to revisit now, back from the Lionsgate portal. Whoa. Justice card carries profound symbolism around truth, fairness, cause and effect, and divine order. It's not just about legal justice. It points to cosmic balance, Temperance card, and accountability. A regal figure sits between two pillars, similar to those in the High Priestess card. These pillars symbolize duality, balance, and the structure of law and truth. The sword held up in the right hand represents discernment, clarity, truth, and the power to cut through illusion. Its double edge shows that actions have consequences and justice cuts both ways. The scales in the left hand symbolize fairness, equilibrium, and weighing actions and intentions. They remind us of karmic balance. Every choice creates ripple effect. Crown or throne. The crown symbolizes higher authority, and the throne's stability and structure, suggesting justice is rooted in eternal universal principles. I'll keep reading there in a second, but I just want to say something. And that's when I was meditating before this and I had the Hermit card come through. I visualized this facing the other way, which might be interesting, I'm not sure, but he also had a crown on his head. Oh, what did that just say about the crown? Symbolizes higher authority. Anyway, the last bit, the behind the figure is often a veil, like in the High Priestess, hinting that truth is hidden and must be discerned carefully. Veiled card. I keep spinning to the Ace of Pentacles too. And I do keep getting a message on the other thing I'm working through, which is probably linked to this in some way because everything is linked. I'm getting a message around new financial system. And as I said that, I just wanted to say of control. And I just split to the Four of Pentacles, which is very much control around finances. The other bits and pieces that came through here was the Justice card, obviously speaking to law, the Hierophant speaking to education and religion, and these being affected by this Tower energy of ultimately crumbling down. Now, I'm not necessarily saying that these are affected by directly by the event, but there's something about the indirect response of the event that affects these systems of control. And not only the systems of law and religion and education, but also money. Everything is going to be affected by whatever this event is. So I recorded that reading. I didn't really feel like I'd pieced it all together enough to really be able to share it. I still thought about sharing it. And then I hesitated for the last month because ultimately this is a reading about an event, a planned event that I think is going to cause a lot of chaos and confusion. And so I have hesitated putting that energy into the world. It's making me emotional just thinking about it, actually. And then, as I said, when the event that happened 2 weeks ago happened, I thought that's it. And I can definitely see some of these themes starting to play out. This is bringing people together and bringing people more into connection with themselves. So what I forgot to say with this second reading is that yes, I'd had those downloads that day and I'd sat down to record this particular message, but the other piece that had happened that day, because I had not yet linked this message with the previous one that I gave you first, is I saw a video on Instagram, I think, and this is now all over Instagram and all over TikTok, talking about the rapture coming on the 24th of September. And immediately, as soon as I saw that video, I recognized that date and I was like, that's the date from the reading. And I'm not saying that to say the rapture's coming tomorrow. I'm not even sure if I'm going to get this edited in time for it to come tomorrow, so we'll see. But it did make me think, and it made me do a whole deep dive into that piece of what that means, what that looks like, what people think that looks like, what could that mean in through the lens of what I believe. Even the parachute piece of people rising from the crash literally could speak to rapture energy, where some people think they're going to be pulled up into the heavens tomorrow. And I'm not saying that with any judgment. I don't know. I don't know what's going to take place. But that all came together. But even as I sat down to record this reading that I've just run through with you, I had not yet linked those two pieces together until I started to recognize some of the similar themes coming through. I recorded that reading. It didn't feel like it had come together in a nice way. And so I didn't edit it. I hesitated posting it, both because I didn't feel like I had a solid message to share. Some of you might say that about this video so far too. But also, I didn't want to share anything that caused fear, and I didn't want to put energy into these events that could make them more significant. So 1 month later, this week, on the 21st of September, exactly 1 month later, 21st of September, at the exact same time, 11:11, I received another message. And this one I absolutely also did not think was related. It was 2 lines from 2 separate songs. The first one was That Boy Is Corrupt from Sabrina Carpenter's Nobody's Son, and then I'm Just a Teenage Dirtbag from Teenage Dirtbag by Weedus. And I wrote it down in the middle of the night, thought nothing of it, went to record this reading the following morning thinking this was going to be about some dirtbag that someone was dealing with, and immediately felt quite heavy energy. I was using the same deck again, the Sacred Symbols Tarot, and I saw the meditate card. So I knew I needed to meditate. Okay, everyone, I don't know where we're going with this one, and I'm thinking it could be another reading that I hesitate to post. And we're approaching the date that the original reading that I didn't post was about. The first song was Nobody's Son by Sabrina Carpenter, but it was just the line, That Boy Is Corrupt. Yep. And then it was Teenage Dirtbag by Weedus, and it was just the line, I'm just a teenage dirtbag, which I just went to look up the lyrics to just try and get a bit deeper sense of maybe what was trying to come through here. And what I didn't realize is what Teenage Dirtbag was actually about. Anyway, I'm just going to leave that there. You can Google that yourself, and we'll see if this is a message that wants to come through for us. I just saw the meditate card, so actually I'm going to pause this a moment and just meditate on this energy. As I mentioned, there was a reading I did a while ago now. I don't think I have the dates written down here. So let's say about a month and a half ago, I did a reading that I had a date come through, which was the 24th of September. And there was a few other things that came through in that reading that was interesting around a world event that was the end of the world as we knew it. And it didn't feel scary. A big part of that reading was the rising of Christ, information coming to light. To me, it felt like this event, situation, tower event, was the key to ascension and the key to a new chapter, because I did another reading that spoke about a false flag event that we would see through. Now, there was an event just a week or two ago that, whilst it didn't happen on this date, I thought could have been that with the narrative that's come out surrounding that event. And it still could be, even with what's coming through today in today's message, but it still feels like what's coming through now is there's more to come. What I got in just meditating is all isn't as it seems. Something is going to happen on the world stage, something where someone or a group of people are posed as rebelling against something, but it is actually far more sinister. And then I heard, for the whole world to see. I kept hearing the line from Teenage Dirtbag, she doesn't know what she's missing. And I didn't know if that was to me saying I'm missing something here. But what's interesting about the message I was just talking about, the third message that I channeled on this particular energy, was there was a very strong, and I've posted a message just on this morning. It's linked to the message I've shared on Instagram today that I'm recording this, about the feminine being able to see through whatever this false flag event is. And so she doesn't know what she's missing, seems related to that in some way. The other thing that came through was a story I saw this morning of, I'm in Australia, the Australia Prime Minister declaring that Australia will support a two-state solution and recognise a Palestinian state, which should feel like very good news. But there's something that didn't feel right about that to me this morning when I saw and heard him talk about that. And he spoke about how he was doing this. I can't remember the words he used, something about an alliance. That's not the word, but with Canada and the UK. Australia, Canada, and the UK. And what I've got, I don't know if this is related, but what I also heard is an under-the-table deal, and there's more beneath the surface. I got the date very strongly again, the 24th of September, and something about the UN, which I had forgotten what was happening, that UN peace treaty thing that I just spoke about. I couldn't recall what the event actually was when I meditated on this. So that's come through again. Something about Antarctica. Trump came through almost positioned against other global powers, but there was some, it was like I didn't fully believe that because I wrote but really next to it. And then I wrote the word supremacy. Around Trump's energy, I must say I didn't have a good feeling. And then I got something around Paris and the Geneva Convention, which is Switzerland. So I don't know what that's about. I'm really going down a rabbit hole now. Like there's lots of layers to this. So we're just going to go to the cards. I'm covered in chills and not in a good way. So I then moved on to the cards for this reading. The other line from the Dirtbag song that I kept hearing was she doesn't know what she's missing. And I didn't know if this was speaking to that intuitive piece from the feminine energy that I've just shared with you. What was quite interesting is on this day after I'd recorded this, which again was a reading that didn't feel like it came together very well, I opened Instagram at 11:11. It was the day of Charlie Kirk's funeral, and I saw the video of Erica Kirk speaking at the funeral. I'm not really sure how to interpret that, but I am sure it's a message. Okay, so then I again used the same deck, Sacred Oracle deck, and got the Stormy card again and the Jealousy card, which has an evil eye on it. I also saw the Knowledge card at the top of the deck and then split to Psychic and the New Moon. Again, that New Moon in Virgo piece coming through. With the Knowledge and Psychic piece, it was that it's all coming to light. The other card that came out was Release, which is a card with a knife. This card came out and I immediately felt danger with it, even though it says release. And there was something about it being a 42 and this event. If I inverted this, which is interesting because that was a word used at that funeral I was just talking about. If I inverted this, that was in theory the 24th, and it changed the energy of this from releasing us from whatever this danger is. As I moved through this reading, it became apparent that one, this could be the event that is the danger, but ultimately it is also the systems of control that we've been speaking about already. Evil Eye does say jealousy, but this Stormy, this is the card that came out in the second reading. Knowledge is at the top of the deck. I also just split to Psychic. This is all just fitting in again. I feel like knowledge is going to come to light. New Moon, Eclipse, which is what we've just had now. New Moon in Virgo. It's 9:21. This card is 21. Last time I got this card 21 and the World card, which is also 21, which is today's date in other parts of the world. I'm just going to my Pocket Archetypes deck. We'll see if anything wants to come from here. And then I think we're going to Tarot. We've got two straight out. One slipped over in there too. Two. It's Unseen. Okay. I find what card is flipped over. Can't see it now. It is the Unseen. There it is. The Gem. So that was in the deck. I don't know if it was already flipped. The Unseen came out, which I've never had come out before. And the Fault Line and the Cave. The Fault Line beneath the surface. I get a lot of messages about events for the Earth herself, including things like this. And there's always the universal principle of as above, so below. So the likely is something happening with the Earth herself as this energy transpires on the world stage. But for me, what's feeling like it wants to come through is something much more on the world stage. I keep seeing the Seven of Swords in my mind's eye, which is lies and deceits. What's interesting there is I've since got a message around Plato's cave. Maybe go look that up because it really speaks to this cave where we're all existing within and shadows are projected on the wall as if that's our reality. But people are mistaking the illusion for truth, and it is a painful climb into the light, and someone gets out of that cave, sees the real world, comes back in and tries to tell everyone, and they all won't listen. In fact, they fight them. And this is the moment in time we're at where many of us are coming out of this cave I'm getting, and seeing what has been unseen. And it's not an easy task to navigate that ourselves, but also recognize that there are people still stuck in the cave. Other messages that came out from the tarot were, whatever this moment in time is, it was destined to happen to make us leave behind what never served us, to allow us to step into something new, to release this danger. What do you want us to know, Spirit? What do you want us to know? What is unseen? What is unseen that you want us to see? The wheel. Anything else? 1, 2, 3. Something just flipped over. 9 of Wands. Strength at the top of the deck. I don't know why I checked that. And the Lovers. And the Chariot. 8 of Cups, Death and Rebirth. Page of Pentacles. Something about this is all destined to happen, to make us leave behind what not even no longer serves us, has never served us. I'm getting chills to say this. Release it. When I first got this card, it didn't feel good. Even despite being a release card, there's something about that knife that doesn't feel good. And it's almost like if I put it this way, then it is the 24th. I know it doesn't look like that, but yeah, there's something about spinning ourselves from something that when we're not released from, that we're even trapped by, because it feels like danger, and releasing ourselves from it. And we've got the 8 of Cups and Death and Rebirth and Page of Pentacles here to allow us to step into something new, and we don't realize how close we are with the 9 of Wands. What are we releasing ourselves from, Spirit? Thank you. Strength. This card speaks to like the Lamb and the Lion, which is strength and softness in one. But what I immediately heard is the wolf in sheep's clothing, which made me think of that thing I said before around posed as a rebel, but it's far more sinister. Give us more on that, Spirit. The Empress. She doesn't know what she's missing. I'm just going to shuffle a few more times. I'm going to finish this video. I'm going to have to deliver this message in a different way at some other time. Yeah, something's being brought to light. Something is definitely being brought to light. There's the 7 of Swords. I just split to it. Right above the Judgment card. Divine Feminines definitely have something to do with this. That came out with the Strength card along with 7 of Wands. Protecting ourselves from outside energy sources, but also messages. Like that's really reminding me of the 8 of Wands. Like information. Actually just connecting with our own information. And there's something about that of releasing. Yeah, this is the release. The release of things that have been. 4 of Pentacles is like finances, money, safety, security kind of things that we might be gripping onto to keep ourselves safe. But actually, there's something about it threatening us in some way. It's not safe. There's something really genuinely not safe. And I don't say that lightly. And the feminines are going to see this and be the first to speak this and also not buy into that system or release themselves from that system. Well, others might be fighting to get to the top of that and it will all come crashing down. So I'm sure, as I've just shared that in the last hour of recording, it is hard to piece all of this together. I'm going to try and summarize now for you that basically through all of that, I'm getting the very strong feeling that we're in a moment of time where there are events being caused to cause division, to pit us against each other. And so events being caused by groups of people, but being blamed on other groups of people. And when I say the original groups of people, I mean the people in power of these systems of control. But they're being pitted against other groups to make us pit ourselves against each other, to increase division, to increase fighting. You can see that already. I think we've just seen a very big example of that event. I think the event that I have referred to in what I've just shared was one of those. There's a lot of evidence out there for that. And I think we are going to see more, possibly tomorrow. I'm really not sure. With this rapture piece being all over social media for tomorrow, it wouldn't surprise me if there is an event that happens around this moment in time that causes an awakening. To me, that would be what the rapture is, a heart awakening of Christ consciousness within that allows people to finally connect with that part of themselves. That is quite possible, be it tomorrow or any other day. It is a symbolic rapture to me, not necessarily the event as described or believed by different sects of Christianity. The invitation here, though, is to accept what is. Accept that there are events coming our way, already happening, causing chaos and confusion, and we can choose to play into the hands of the people that are bringing these events about and feed into exactly what they're wanting us to feed into. Division, separation from ourselves, looking for answers from them, looking for saviors in them. Or we can separate ourselves from that chaos and confusion, refuse to play into vision, and move from love to be open to receiving the truths as they are revealed, knowing that that is deeply uncomfortable, to step into our feminine energy of sacred action and sacred rage when it is needed, but to always move from our hearts, to meet in the middle and to spend time in presence with the Christ consciousness that lives within us. So the invitation isn't fear, it's discernment. Start questioning those shadows on the wall. Notice what's failed and return again and again to your heart. And so I guess here's where we land. We are living in a time of unveiling. Towers are going to fall, structures are going to fall, shadows are going to dissolve. Parachutes open up and lift us into this ascension. What matters is not whether we can predict every world event. It's whether we can stay grounded, discerning, and awake to the Christ light within us. You are the vessel of the Christ light that will guide others through the storm. May you rise gently. May you stay calm through the storm. And may you carry the light back to others. Thank you for being here. Hello, everybody. I thought we were done too, but as I was working through one of the recordings, the very first recording of the reading I've shared before, I had mentioned my very first attempt at a scribble reading, which I actually refer to in the very first scribble reading I do post, but I never posted this reading because of what came through. And I'd forgotten all about this video, actually. So I've gone back and had a look at it. I'm still not going to share the whole video at this point in time, but I am going to piece snippets of this into this because it feels quite relevant, particularly as I was working through editing this video and that piece around storytelling and something being veiled. And even the piece around what would it take for the feminine to rise and really fight for a cause worth fighting for. This feels related. I still hesitated. There's a lot that I've shared in this message so far that feels dangerous in itself. When you speak about these big players and you know how much power is behind them, it's not a safe place to feel open to share on the internet for anyone to find your face behind what I'm saying, my face behind what I'm saying. But as I've worked through just piecing this video together, that we started with sharing your truth, speaking up, and not being scared of persecution. And I'm sure persecution is coming my way as a result of this video. But there are truths that have come to me that I know I'm meant to share. And I'm not sure if I was meant to wait this long or not, if this is all played out exactly how it's meant to. I often trust these things do. But this next piece is a layer even deeper into something even darker that, yeah, makes me uncomfortable to share. So as I said, I'm not going to share the whole video. I'm probably going to be somewhat careful with exactly what I say. But when I questioned whether I should jump on and add this addendum to the end of this video, I asked for a sign, and I just sat down with some breakfast and opened Instagram and got my sign. And I got my sign with a post about how someone has put a statue of Trump and Epstein shaking hands in some place in the States to celebrate World Friendship Week or something to that effect. Anyway, that probably gives you an indication of what we're about to dive into. There is a lot to this topic, a lot more than is spoken about in most channels, I would say. And there's probably even more that I haven't heard discussed. If any of this resonates with you, I mean, some of it might be about to come to the surface anyway, is what I'm getting the sense of, the fact that this has come back around. But if any of this resonates with you, I would suggest maybe going and doing your own research, because, yeah, there's something about needing to shine a light on what has actually been happening and unveiling this truth. And maybe this is part of me helping you speak your truth and making this truth come to light. Anyway, as I said, this was my very first scribble message that I tried to do. It started really beautiful, talking about our magic coming online and us really needing to lean into our magic. And then I had something about a particular female artist come through. I think at this point in time, I'm not going to share their name. But it did come through quite strongly around a song of theirs. And then I happened to be drawing, so I was drawing rings. That might help you with the song. Then I happened to draw rings in a way that they looked like Mickey Mouse. And I was already getting Disney feels off the energy. And I heard the phrase, "Wonderful World of Disney." So that's kind of the path we had headed down. I will share a bit of what came through here now. The other thing that's coming through, and I'm not sure where we're going to go with this just yet, is Disney. So originally, it doesn't at all anymore, but originally when I started drawing this, when I started scribbling this, it kind of felt like Mickey Mouse. I was getting Disney feels, and then I was getting the phrase "Wonderful World of Disney" come through. Tap into Disney, but maybe that's what we're doing. Is there anything there, Spirit, that you want me to speak to? Kind of gone from doing light language or circles to like these really sharp points that almost are like teeth. You're not going to really be able to see it, but see, that's what I've just done there. Getting dark side. There's a dark side. I really didn't think this is where we're going. I thought we were talking about our magic. What just happened? I was getting the sense it's connected to more than we know. The dark side of Disney is connected to more than we know, but I'm almost getting like this is like a tunnel. A tunnel. Okay, then what? Tell me more about these tunnels. I don't understand. So it's like, yes, you do. Yeah, but this isn't information that's come to me directly. I've heard this information elsewhere. So I split the deck to Three of Pentacles. People are working together on this dark, whatever I said before. Kids too. Surprisingly, I just heard the name Epstein. I feel like there was another name trying to come through too, though. It's a long list of names. Yeah, we don't have the list. And that list is feeding back up into whatever this top thing was. I've got ink on my hands. And what's coming through there is that they're going to start to make mistakes, and there's going to be evidence that they can't hide, they can't destroy, because I'm going to go to a new page for it. Tell me more about the evidence. I'm getting fire immediately, which I was about to say that they know this is close to being revealed, and so they are trying to destroy evidence, but in the process they're going to make mistakes and they'll be caught red-handed because there will be some form of evidence that they can't hide. Very dark, very different to where we started. What are we drawing now? There is a trail of evidence. Getting whistleblower, but almost a feeling like there'll be multiple people trying to divert the attention away from themselves, or like there'll be scapegoats of the situation to try and avoid the whole operation being revealed. This is not what I wanted to come on and talk about. It's kind of feeling like a crown to me. The queen of the operation. I don't know why I'm thinking queen instead of king, but that's what's coming through. Like, I'm getting kind of evil queen vibes. Like they're going to scapegoat a key head, a female figure, I suspect, to distract from the rest of it. And actually, I was getting kind of... this is my crown. With this was the trail of evidence, but when I was first drawing it, I was getting kind of like a witch broom kind of vibe. And they're going to scapegoat a female for some reason. The name Monica just came through. I don't know what that means. I'm not sure if that's this person. I've definitely got some M's here now, but again, it's just like they're just one piece of this. There's so many things attached to this that need to be revealed. Will they be revealed, Spirit? And honestly, because I'm already talking about something that I feel deeply uncomfortable talking about, any that they can't cover up or keep quiet will be kept quiet in other ways. Getting a lot of soul energy here right now of souls that are involved in this or have been involved in this. And what I was getting originally is these souls. I'm kind of getting two things here. One, the souls that have been involved in this that may no longer be with us in physical form because of more and more people stepping into their awakening, into their spiritual gifts, into their ability to tap into the unseen. Even if physical evidence of this is destroyed, there'll be energetic messages, spiritual messages, connections with these souls that will reveal the truth, is what's coming in. Despite a lot of dark magic trying to stop that from happening, including ongoing attempts to shield this spiritually from being revealed. Contracts, both in the physical and in the spiritual planes. It make me really emotional. These kids that have been at the center of this, been tortured as a way of harvesting whatever they were harvesting from them. A darkness of experience that you and I can't even imagine, but that can't be hidden any longer. Again, I want to pop in here and say this is what I was speaking to before, when I think it is safe to say that many of us are not aware of exactly what has gone on within these circles. I mean, we already think the worst, but actually, this makes me want to cry. It is actually far, far worse than we could ever imagine, and probably even more than I am aware of. And again, if that resonates with you, if this piece resonates with you in any way, it might be worth you starting to do your own research. I think very quickly as you start to dive into this, it will become part of your algorithm anyway, and You will continue to uncover pieces of information. And then it's just the piece that we've been speaking through this whole piece today of sitting with, does this resonate as truth for me? And if it does, what are you going to do with that? Are you going to have the courage to speak up about it? Because, yeah, I won't. I've already said this is terrifying to me, but it's not more terrifying than these kids have been through. And, you know, it's almost making me feel like I want to say the thing that I've seen so many people say on social media this week. I have no intention of harming myself. That's how scary this is to me. And I'm just this little nobody from Australia. Like, these people involved in this stuff that I've spoken about all through this video, not even just this piece. This is all linked. And these people are powerful beyond our wildest imaginations. But so are we. They've just made us forget it. Anyway, let's keep going. These kids that have been at the center of this, been tortured as a way of harvesting whatever they were harvesting from them. Get a darkness of experience that you and I can't even imagine, but that can't be hidden any longer. I just keep seeing, I don't know if you're going to be able to see, like, this looks like a face to me, and it didn't have all those scribbles around it before, and it's just been so much dark energy. I'm getting, it's like an energetic exchange. I've heard the phrase energetic harvesting before, energy harvesting before, and that definitely feels like what's happening here with whatever they've done to these children. But it's almost as if they exchange their dark energy for these children's light energy. I don't really know how that works. It's like a swapping of some description. Maybe the castle in Disneyland is significant too. Now I'm looking at that crown above it. It's starting to look like Cinderella's castle. Is it Cinderella's castle that's at Disneyland? Whatever that castle is. What's significant about that castle? Because all of these swirls around that originally were coming through as energetic, either messages from souls or attempts by these people to block this energy from coming to light, is now also looking like it could be tunnels. Is that castle related to tunnels in some way? Oh. I just got a visual of like a basement under the tunnels, under the castle. I don't know what that would actually be called. Not quite like a basement, but a chambers is almost what's coming through, where dark rituals are performed, and then tunnels out of those chambers to get to move the people, the evidence. Where do the kids that survive this go? Picked all over the world to the rich and famous for their own rituals. Yep. Amongst other things. I just got this visualization of drugs. They get these kids addicted to drugs so that they can control them, have control over them, also have a reason for them to no longer be with us should they lose control. Is this what the original message around that star that came through originally was? So in this next piece, I tap back into the energy of the original celebrity that came through, and start to ask some questions about that. I will have to redact some of this because I do mention a movie that they were in. Is this what the original message around that star that came through originally was? I'm getting yes, but she now feeds into it. Like, she sold her soul. Is she still the same person? Is she still the same human being as she was when we first came to see her in the public eye? No, isn't it? I was about to ask how many clones out there are there, and without drawing it in the normal way, I've kind of got an infinity symbol here, except it was drawn as two circles side by side, two interlinking rings. Why do they need clones? With all of the people that they lose control of, no longer being here in the way that I just discussed before. So it is a way of keeping up with the narrative of an individual storyline without risking that person saying something in the public arena. So when will this come out, Spirit? I heard 2025. All of it, though. I'm back over where they said they were going to release that one female figure. So that's coming out this year. And yeah, as I said before, I think somehow the rest will come out in time. It will be unraveled. And I really can't help but feel that like that's going to be at least initiated by the spiritual community coming into knowledge. Like, and well, this is kind of already happening, but it becoming more mainstream of psychics, intuitives, oracles in the spiritual community all sharing the same information. Like, it's almost as if these souls are going to connect with a bunch of different high profile and low profile psychic mediums, all of those things, who will share all of the same information at the same time, which will make people start to pay attention to this story in ways that they're not right now, where they're thinking it's just a handful of the rich and famous that have taken in something that's not on the level that it actually is. Okay. I need to wrap up soon, Spirit, so just anything else. Be something about babies or women getting pregnant. Then what's happening to these babies? I don't want to know, do I? Some of them we know. Some of the babies that have been born into this, I don't know what you call it. I'm going to say operation. That doesn't seem like the right word. Are within the public eye today. I'm getting the others have been either sacrificed or kept in colonies is what's coming through. Kept in colonies for harvest rituals. Where are these colonies? It says something about an island and then something about tunnels and then Canary Islands came through. I don't even know. I honestly couldn't tell you where the Canary Islands are, if they're in America or not. Something about Canary Islands, so yeah, something about Canary Islands. Will these colonies be found and released before? I think they might be onto me. Will these colonies be found before the evidence is destroyed? The tunnels will be found. Yeah, but what about the people? Very few. And most that are will not be willing to speak because of the traumas they've faced, because of how I'm almost getting, they'll be so mentally unwell from whatever's been happening to them that they won't be able to communicate the truth in the physical, which is why the soul piece of this is so important. I've actually just got in time people looking into this will employ mediums to connect with the souls of these people to determine what happened. Maybe that's where that piece before came through around multiple different psychics and mediums getting the same information at once. That might be an attempt by the good authorities in this, whoever they might end up being, of trying to ascertain what actually has taken place in this operation. I need to go wrap that one up there. Not at all what I was expecting. So yeah, that's what I wanted to share. I know that's all a lot. You can take it or leave it. This whole message today has been about you discerning your own truth. There's a piece of me now, even just thinking about posting this and that last part in particular, that's hesitating and thinking I need to summarize it in some way, but I know I need to do this. I don't know if it's going to last and it's going to stay up, or I'm going to have to find another way to share parts of this message, but Yeah. This is me just sharing what has come through for me. Again, please sit with what resonates as truth for you. You do not need to take all of this. You do not need to, yeah, we've all got to be doing our own part in making sure we are finding the wisdom within, using our discernment, following our own intuition, and speaking our truth as we're called to do, as scary as that is sometimes. So I am going to wrap up this now very long video and leave you with all of that to process, which I know is a lot. If you do have ideas or little bits of added information that might have come through as you listen to this or that you've heard elsewhere, I'm always very keen to hear that. So if you want to pop it in the comments below or shoot me a DM on Instagram, you're very welcome to. And may this serve however it was meant to. I'm sure this is, it's making me so emotional. I'm sure this is all pieced together in this way for a reason. I'm not yet sure what the reason is. And I am nervous. Again, I am nervous about this. But all of this resonates as truth to me. And I think some of these truths are about to come to light. And if this video can serve that in any way, then that's what I want to do. All right. Thanks, everyone. Look after yourselves. Bye.